Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm in yet another location where John Cullen isn't. As we explore this question of where's Cullen, I'm at the fateful and historic campus of Utah Valley University. It's interesting to come to places like this that, you know, you've looked at so much online and have got historical significance, the location of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and then to see it for yourself. I don't know what this is. Is this some sort of drained pond? Looks like a fountain or some kind of water feature. Now I see we've got the police over there. They may say you're not allowed to enter, but we'll see what they say. I seem to recall Adam Bartholomew encountered the police over there, and they said, yeah, look, wading, swimming, ice skating, everything is prohibited there. There's not even any water, so I don't think you'd want to do it. Now look, this is not about coming to the campus. It's a little windy. To explore aspects of the assassination. Not really so much. I think a lot of people have covered that pretty extensively. Glam Ham Radio pointed out that they seem to have security cameras all over the place. Is that a security camera? It's just a hole. So I don't know that there's really all that much. You know, I'm on this nationwide Where's Cullen tour, and I figured you gotta stop at UVU. Maybe this wind will subside when we get to the courtyard. It's, I would say, unseasonably warm here in Utah. We can see the beautiful mountain range in the background up there. And, you know, it's December. It could be like, you know, 10 degrees in Utah. I don't know if there's any police in that police car. It might just be there. Maybe there are. Certainly won't go anywhere we're not allowed. This is something I've wanted to examine firsthand. We did have Adam Bartholomew over here several days after the incident up on this gravel pit to see if you're able to. So, I mean, this is right where Charlie Kirk was. And I mean, the question is, if you're in there, would the person standing behind this tunnel have been able to get a shot at Charlie Kirk? There is no policeman in that police car, and there's no thing here that says you cannot enter, so I don't know if you can or can't. I mean, there's nothing stopping. Anyway, I laid out yesterday all this stuff about Cullen and the evidence and everything. But for a minute, let's talk about Charlie Kirk, and was he shot from behind by a low muzzle velocity PCP gun? So he would have been potentially somebody hiding right here. Could they have gotten a shot? I don't know. You know, we've already seen how they've replaced these panels. It's quite obvious that this panel right here is a different color and much newer concrete. I mean, it's certainly coincidental that that thing was replaced. That certainly looks like it could have gotten a shot at Charlie. It's all very strange, and it's, again, another one of these things that we'll probably never know the answer to. Now, people have presumed that this is a security camera. Is it? It looks like it certainly could be. Security camera or lights. Can people see in there? Is it lights or is it a security camera? See something removed from there. All a big mystery. But you see, the other mystery surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination was that, you know, that was when Cullen reconnected with me. A lot of people who are sending me comments about Cullen are confused. They seem to think that he and I had been collaborating continuously up to this tweet, this threatening message that he included my image in, that he sent to Viva Frei. Well, you know, Barnes, directed at Barnes. This is, I guess, the Charlie Kirk Memorial. It's a little weird, isn't it? It's kind of just plants. No smoking in courtyard. Fair enough. So I guess Charlie would have been, see, he wasn't centered up with that post there. It was centered up with the point of that and sort of offset here. So I guess the question is, if he was seated right here-ish, it's possible that somebody right there on the edge. I mean, it's like it's a game of inches here. I think somebody might have been able to been back there. So here I'm standing sort of approximately where Charlie Kirk was. He wasn't centered up with that pillar. He seemed to be, yeah, on center with that point. It's an odd courtyard. See, we've got these points of the seating here, there, and as it goes up, it's sort of moving to my right. Right? Adam Bartholomew was up here. And Cullen did something very deceptive with his, science. He got very angry when I was doubting his drone. He got very quickly onto Charlie was shot by a drone. I don't think so. I really don't. The question is, could someone right over there on that gravel pit, if this is where Charlie was, it's very difficult to know. I guess we'll have to look at these stairs. We might be able to make his position. So I'm standing now, these stairs, where was Charlie relative to those stairs? And this no smoking in the courtyard. Somebody should be able to triangulate this. Not those stairs, these stairs, because this line on the front edge of those stairs, if this is where Charlie was seated, the question is, could a bullet have made it from right there? So Cullen, he and I initially had a falling out in December of 2024. I think I've mentioned this in one of the other Where is John Cullen videos. Campus is very empty today. Obviously, everybody is home celebrating Christmas with their families, you would think. Somebody's there. We had a falling out because he just wasn't, other people like, oh, you're butthurt that he didn't give you credit, and you're butthurt that it's not butthurt, it's that, this is a business. When people subscribe to the show on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. That's the only way I make money. Well, also crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and following me on X at JG_CSTT. So when I have co-hosts, regular co-hosts like John Cullen, what I offer them is a fully produced show. They just have to call in by Zoom, share their information. They get a fully produced show, a protected stream that is not easily stolen. They can put it on their Substack, their Patreon, their Subscribestar. It's very appealing to a lot of co-hosts. David Hawkins loved that. John Cullen, all the different people I've had over the years have enjoyed it. And it's, I don't ask them for any money. Remember there was a guy running from over here and people were like, oh, he's the shooter, whatever. I don't ask them for any money. I provide the show. I provide the stream. But I mean, in the case of Cullen, after the Butler assassination, when his X account really started to blow up, he got a lot of viewers, and that's good. I actually really doubled my investment in the secure server so that it could handle the bandwidth of his additional viewers. I didn't ask him for any money. That cost me a lot of money, $1,200 a year more. Never asked him for that money. And he became very lazy about providing me with the stream key to his YouTube and X channels that would have allowed me to gain exposure on his very large channels. That's sort of the reciprocity of this relationship. I'm paying for these secured live streams so that we can share the benefit of the growing notoriety. When I had 120,000 subscribers on YouTube after COVID, John enjoyed the benefit. I didn't stop sharing his shows on my big YouTube channel, and it certainly helped him grow a lot. It was sort of the whole point. Now that's interesting. Is that a Wi-Fi hotspot? What's going on all that? But in 2024, when he started becoming really lackadaisical about sharing those stream keys, you know, it was difficult to handle. I had obviously made it clear that I wanted him to do that, but when he didn't provide them, I couldn't force him to do it. And he was just becoming very difficult to deal with. A lot of people noticed he was insulting on the show, treated me like I worked for him, and he's shitty to his employees. He's a real bossy. I've seen it happen a lot in Hollywood, you know, with people when they gain notoriety. The notoriety goes to their head and they become jerks. And for a while, I was kind of like dealing with it, but we reached a break point in December of 2024, and I just sent him a message saying, hey, I'm ending our collaboration. I was surprised that he didn't call me or email and say, oh, wait a minute, you know, what did I do to upset you? Why don't we work this out? But that's how it was, and we just went on our separate ways. We've already looked at this with Adam Bartholomew, I think. Clearly, this is not a vent that a drone could fly out of. I mean, that was just stupidity from Blake Bednar's. I don't even think those guys are serious investigators. It's just putting out nonsense, paying for footage from UVU Review. I thought about coming here on another day and try to talk to people from UVU Review and stuff like that, but they're not going to want to talk to me. They're not going to want to, you know, Samir Masi doesn't want to talk about how he sold footage to Blake Bednar's or why he's pretending to have recorded that footage from over here. Why would somebody want to associate themselves and lie to associate themselves with evidence in a murder investigation? I can't understand that. There's a lot of things about this Charlie Kirk murder that I can't understand. It seems in many ways more sophisticated and more complex even than the JFK assassination. People saw I went to the Rand Corporation the other day, and I've been getting a lot of messages from people about the Rand Corporation. It seems in many ways to be kind of the template for these public-private partnerships, as they call them. The Clinton Foundation, Turning Point. See, that's the Hall of Flags in there where, I guess, right? Well, that's the Hall of Flags up there. I don't know what this is, but that's where we saw some video from in there of a guy running across the roof back here. You know, all those video releases, they seem very staged. But I bring up the Rand Corporation because it seemed to really ramp up in very close time proximity to the Air Force. And the Air Force was created by the National Security Act, same thing that created the CIA. So it's approximately from here, or maybe here, where we have this video of Charlie getting shot from behind by a low muzzle velocity projectile that I feel pretty confident was shot from a PCP, a pre-charged pneumatic gun. And the thing is, I don't know why they created the Rand Corporation. I don't even know why they created the Air Force. Why didn't they just leave it the Army Air Force? Seems like the more bureaucracy you have, the more wasteful it is. But that's how they did it. Maybe it makes it easier to hide stuff. Maybe it makes it easier to get money or steal money. I don't know, is there anything else here that we can kind of go back and look at the Charlie footage and figure out exactly where he was sitting and figure out if that position over there, someone hiding, you know, where that guy Farnsworth or whatever his name is, he was up there. It's a strange place to go. But anyway, the Rand Corporation, a lot of money goes to that thing, and it advises the Pentagon and writes reports for the CIA. That's where the Pentagon Papers came out of, and lots of intrigue and spy stuff coming from there. The Clinton Foundation, we don't know what happens with that money. You know, there was a foundation that was created that Oliver North used to send all the money for Iran-Contra. I guess I knew that, but you know, Charles was telling me about it the other day, and I don't know that I've ever really thought about it that carefully. It makes me think more about Turning Point USA. A lot of people hear, oh, they're doing weird stuff with money. Charlie Kirk is just buying mansions. But is that really it? How do we know what they're doing with that money? You know, if it's being used for a war here or there, or some secret clandestine thing that we don't know about yet, and Charlie Kirk is, you know, maybe there's a reason he was killed that we just don't know about at all. Yeah, and again, Adam Bartholomew came up here for us when I had him on Zoom from over here. This is a little treacherous. I don't know if they do or don't want me walking on this, but I'm just so intrigued by the notion of, could someone hiding behind here have made the shot? And why did, I think the guy's name is Terrell Farnsworth or something. Why did he come up here? It's hard to get up there. It's treacherous to walk on. It's not like it's a safe spot. Could someone hiding right back here have gotten a bead on Charlie? Or would the tent be in the way? I just don't know. It's quite a difficult question to answer. But yeah, I mean, these nonprofits, they're used to move money around in all kinds of ways for all kinds of things. And the thing is, that it's like a network, right? A nonprofit can give a grant to a nonprofit, and there's no tax paid on that money on either end of the transaction. Think about that. You know, if your business hires another business or gives money to somebody for something, you pay corporate tax on the money you earn, you pay it to them, and it becomes income to them, and they pay tax on it. If you have a network of nonprofits where nobody's paying tax on any of those, isn't it like a money network that you can just move millions and millions of dollars around? You know, I don't know. I just wonder. But back to Cullen. So we had this falling out in December 2024. We really didn't speak on the phone at all for 10 months. And then he called me up as if nothing had happened when I uncovered what I thought was drone footage in Adam Bartholomew's video that he recorded. And remember, it was that whole issue where the Bartholomew live stream got cut. I've seen a lot of social engineering around Adam Bartholomew's information, people trying to discredit Adam. He seems like a very honest guy to me. I should have called him, but Christmas and everything, I'm sure he's busy with his family. He was just minding his own business, recording a live stream up here. He was recording the counter-protesters, he told us. That's what he likes to do. And I get it. That's, I've done that quite a bit until it became a little too dangerous. I mean, I guess here they were more civilized. They're just college students. So he was up there, and he was kind of looking this way. So if there was some sort of high accuracy detection and exploitation system in play from the Hades jet, it would have detected Adam Bartholomew, just like any competent security system in place right now would know that I'm here with a selfie stick walking around recording a video, and they might wonder, who the hell is this guy? I mean, frankly, security here is pretty lax. I don't think NYU would let you walk around their campus like this. But whatever, that's how they do it here at Utah Valley University. But remember, Adam Bartholomew was rolling his live stream. He has a bonded, link aggregated array of multiple cell phones as well. I think he said he had Verizon and AT&T, and that's a pretty robust connection. He was live streaming for about 20 minutes with no problem, and then 1 second before the shot was fired, that was it. His live stream went out. That seems strange to me. It seemed reminiscent of that kid in the park coming up to me in Washington Square Park just a few weeks prior, and it led me to learn about the Bluetooth low energy exploit that can crash your phone, can end a live stream, can do all kinds of things. And it just seemed to me that somebody did that to Adam Bartholomew. And when I spoke to him and found out he had the triple redundant system with the recording, he had only put it out on YouTube at about, let's see here. He would have put it out on YouTube at about 3.5 megabits per second. But his original recording was 15 megabits per second, much more data. And I was able to go in there. Well, I guess we have some Charlie Kirk tourists showing up now, or whoever these folks are. But when he sent me his full bitrate file, a lot more detail came out of that. And that's where we were able to see what appeared to me to be drones flying around. So Cullen called right away. That drone material that I put out, it got a lot of attention. And, Cullen, admittedly, he used to lament the fact that he had a kind of more limited portfolio than me. Cullen really had focused on Vegas, COVID, and the Butler shooting. Didn't really have the wide array of topics to cover. And it didn't seem like he really had too much of a leg up on any of the evidence from the Charlie Kirk shooting. So he called me right away and he wanted me on the show about the drone. But you see, what I was saying is these drones were conducting ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. I never said they shot anybody, and he got pissed off when I didn't get on board with his conclusion that the drone shot. So he somehow calculated that right over there-ish was where the shot came from. And he was saying it was in between this building and this building. And I said, look, wouldn't it be much more likely that somebody would be right on the corner of that building than a drone would be flying around? Sorry. Like right there is what I'm saying. Could somebody hide up there? It seems like they could. Now, also the other thing is, this is where Adam Bartholomew was. Remember, this area behind me was taped off with police tape. I don't know, we could look at the original video and see if this little feature was there, or if this is something that's been added since. It looks like a science experiment of some kind, solar, I don't know what. But yeah, Hall of Flags, I think Adam was kind of over here, right? Because that tree, it might have still had some foliage on it. Remember, there was a bird flying in it, and you couldn't quite see exactly what was going on that roof over there. But if you were flying around an ISR drone, gathering intelligence about, who's on the ground looking at all this with civilian cell phone cameras, you might say, hey, there's a guy on the terrace in front of the Hall of Flags. Knock out his live stream. Boom, Bluetooth low energy, right on Bartholomew. Then when it's discovered that he actually recorded the incident and that I'm pointing out drones, that's when Cullen calls me. So the question is, did somebody activate him? I mean, he never called me. He didn't call me when I canceled the show to say, hey, listen, we've been working together for 7-8 years. We're allegedly good friends. Obviously, I did something that upset you. Maybe we can work it out. And by the way, along the lines of obviously he did something that upset me, people are going to say, oh, maybe he didn't know. Not everybody sees your point of view, Jason. He did know. Because when he invited me onto his show to talk about drones, he said, I'll have the Twitter and YouTube stream keys ready well in advance. So he obviously knew what I was upset about. He just didn't care to rectify it in the 10 months prior to the Charlie Kirk thing. Now, the other thing that's strange is, it wasn't like Cullen went on and everything was going great. He produced a lot less content. And that's very strange to me because, you see, when I'm not going viral with the most, engaging story in the nation, like Charlie Kirk, my Twitter account is very flat. It sometimes even goes down, even though I post new shows many days of the week, 5 to 7 days a week often, and with guests like Charles Ortel, Ken Silva, lots of different people, Sal Greco. These guys get lots of views. People are interested in them. Cullen would sometimes go several weeks, certainly without any sponsor exclusive content, and sometimes even with no new content at all. Now, this appears to be where Samir Masi was having his pizza party, inside here. Yeah, looks closed. They got Arby's in there. That's disgusting. But Cullen, he was going weeks at a time without any new content, and yet kept going up and up and up. Maybe people love Cullen and don't like me. That's possible. I'm just pointing to these different elements of evidence that seem like manipulation of social media, seem like coordination, seem like unusual in my experience. So anyway, he calls me, he says, let's do this show about the drone footage. This is amazing. You're the only one who could have ever discovered this. He tells me that he's talking to Joe Kent in Tulsi Gabbard's office. He told the whole audience that. It's one thing to tell me that in an offline phone call, but I don't know, to announce that during a live stream. Do people working in the intelligence community want you to tell the public at large that they're communicating with you? I can't imagine that they do. The other thing he said to me was, he had been doing shows on that guy Tommy's podcast, which I'm not impressed by at all. Seems to always have, Claire Lopez, and every person that guy has on seems to be associated with the CIA or former FBI or some kind of stupid nonsense like that. And there was some guy who was an special forces, something like that. And John said, oh, we're going to do a Discovery Channel show. I'll introduce you to them or whatever. I don't think he understands. First of all, even if that was true, He wasn't talking to Discovery Channel. He was very likely talking to some producer of Discovery Channel shows who wanted to pitch a show to Discovery Channel. You know, he was trying to entice me, like there was going to be money involved in that or something. But those Discovery Channel shows want to basically pay you zero, which I would have been fine with. You know, the exposure would have been good, but I'm not enticed by that. I mean, you know, part of the reason why I left Hollywood is that I had it with those Discovery Channel productions. I've done many of them. But, you know, he was talking about that. He was talking about Joe Kent. And so then when he came to the conclusion, and I thought it was very deceptive how he did this, he had this plan view, this aerial top-down view of this courtyard, and he put a red star over where his, you know, intersecting circles from the crack bang, crack thump, whatever the hell it is. You know, and he's like, oh, that's where the shot came from. Now, we've had Sound Freak, Matt, he says, no, crack thump is, unless you know some other parameter, not as accurate as Cullen seemed to think it was. I was never really able to criticize those crack thump mathematical calculations because I don't know anything about it. I'm not a math expert, I'm not a sound expert. But Matt, Audio Freak, he was. And he was not so impressed with those calculations. I remember when I doubted them, Cullen got super angry. This is science. This is math, evidence, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't get into it with him because he's just such a pain in the ass when you disagree with him. But the fact is, math can be wrong. If the input is wrong, you know, there's lots of ways that could be wrong. He could make a mistake. The videos that he got, in many cases, he didn't know the original source of. They could be manipulated. I could envision a number of ways in which that calculation could be wrong. But it just didn't make sense to me. And he had placed his red star over the intersecting point in a way that I just found very George Webbish. And what I mean by that is it was conveniently placed just right in the spot that obscured the evidence. Now, I don't know if I can actually walk back this way. I don't think I can. So he was just doing so many things that seemed so social engineering and deceptive that he had to get the heave-ho. And when he did this business with posting my picture in conjunction with tweets that were obviously being construed as threats, I found it so offensive that here he is cowardly hiding behind a fake name that he's told me many times he's done it specifically to prevent legal liability. Doesn't want to be sued. He said, I said, John, why don't you just tell everybody your real name, come clean, it's going to give your work a lot more credibility. Like he had taken off the hat and sunglasses and shown his real face. I was like, okay, this is a good step toward openness and credibility and honesty. Now why don't you go the full route and use your real name? Because he had always told me, you know, he wanted a flight radar subscription. I had to pay for that because he can't get a credit card. He doesn't want to give them his name. I told him, why don't you start a Wyoming Anonymous LLC and get a credit card under that? Why don't you use your real name and then that way you could start getting credit? He said, well, look at how many times you've been sued, Jason. So he was acutely aware of the legal liability that irresponsible things can bring upon you, or even when you're responsible, you can be held accountable. So that was his reason for protecting his own identity, but he obviously didn't care about being super careless with my likeness and my identity when he was sending messages to lawyers that could be construed as threats and represented to X.com enforcement or trust and safety and their attorneys to present that as threats in an effort to get me removed. He didn't care about that. I was so offended by that, having helped him so much and done everything to build his platform. You know, I paid for all those subscriptions. And also when this Egyptian jet thing came up, he was like, oh, hey, why don't you get a $500 subscription to Flight Radar so we can go back all this and that time. And you know what? When I got the subscription to Flight Radar, and downloaded the jet flying over Lake Utah, all that information. Before I sent it to him, I said to myself, oh, maybe I should just tweet this so that like I'm out with it before he is. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I made a whole video, screen captured a video and sent it to him. And he made videos about that. And everyone's like, oh, John discovered the jet. It was actually Blake Bednar's who made that first video about the jet. So I'm glad I didn't try to claim a scoop on that. I had no idea who first came up with it. But it wasn't me, and I'm not into stealing people's thunder. I'm into doing my own original reporting. Huh. How do we like those pyramids on there? Pretty interesting. He just behaved in a way very deceptive. Not good. And I mean, he should make an announcement to his subscribers, let people know, is he ever coming back? He told me he's quit. And basically, he said, good job, Jason. Like it's my fault that he left the internet. UVU is a place for you. Not if you're Charlie Kirk. Anyway, Cullen is not here. I know where he is. I'm not going to tell people where he is, but I am going to continue to reveal things about what a deceptive guy he is and how truly likely it is that he's a social engineer attempting to destroy my social media, destroy my livelihood. I mean, that's like burning down my place of business. That's an attack. That's low. Anyway, sponsor the show, please. All this driving around, staying at hotels. People can go to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You can also sponsor on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. You could send a year-end one-time sponsorship to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth, but I don't really have a way of linking that to any kind of video subscription. So thank you to anybody who chooses to do that. That's basically just a gift to me. People can also subscribe to the sponsor-exclusive content by following me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribing there. Cullen is not at Utah Valley University, and I am, but I just wanted to report from here, show everybody the campus. I'm glad we got that. I guess I could have seen this online, but the edge of the stairs lining up with the front of that concrete. I'll try to see if we can figure out where Charlie was. We have those aerial photos that Eric found. Yeah, maybe there's a way we can figure this out. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This is me saying Merry Christmas, and thanks to everybody who has sponsored Crowdsource the Truth over all these years. I'm sad that this happened with Cullen, but he's the one who brought it about, not me. I'm doing all of this reporting on him because this is my counter-social engineering effort. I detect that he's still planning to try to use this whole Where's Cullen, his own disappearance, as a way of trying to convince people that he's a hero and I'm a villain, and that people should unsubscribe. Don't do that, please. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.